Welcome back to the Home Stretch podcast, and today's episode we're going to dive very deep into what a contract pack actually is. And if you're a first-time buyer, you have probably either just heard what this is if you're right at the start of the process, or if you haven't even started the process yet, you will not have a clue what I'm talking about, because no one tells you what this thing is until you have an offer accepted and you are now just kind of waiting for this contract pack, seller's pack, starter pack. It's called so many different things. You're waiting for it to arrive. So I'm here to tell you exactly what it is, how long you should expect to actually receive this from the seller's solicitor, and also what it includes, what it is, and why it's so important when you're buying your first house. So I'm going to rewind straight back to the personal story of what happened to us and our contract pack. So rewinding back to August of 2024, we had our offer approved, it was very early August. I can't remember the exact date, maybe the 8th of August or the 7th of August. It was something like that. And we kind of just sat back and relaxed. We had our solicitor chosen. We instructed our solicitor, and our solicitor was actually going on holiday for 5 weeks, and by the time he's back, we should more or less be halfway through the process. So when he left, he had someone come in just to take his place as like a middle guy for the time being, basically, that kind of knew our case and we thought was kind of probably helping and doing whatever. So all me and Nathan was doing at this point was just waiting. We were literally just waiting. And it got to about week 3 and we thought, we haven't heard anything. This is a bit odd. What's going on? Are we supposed to call or reach out or chase, or we didn't know. And I wish we chased early. So just one key point right at the start of this podcast to take away from it is to not be afraid to chase early when it comes to your contract pack, because we waited another week. We got to week 4. And then it got to week 4.5. And I thought, this isn't right. We've waited a whole month. We haven't heard anything. What's going on? And we called up the estate agents and we said, we haven't had the pack that's come into our solicitor. And they said, that's really odd. You should definitely have that by now. We'll chase the seller solicitor and see what's going on. And we were like, great, fabulous, amazing. Well, lo and behold, a day later, the contract pack just appears out of nowhere. And I'm sure you'll find in quite a few of my past videos that this has happened multiple times. So please take it from someone with experience that when you use the estate agents to help chase the seller solicitor, no matter how annoyed the estate agents can get with you, it does speed things up. And, that took a day. So it got to just up to week 5 for our contract pack to finally land in our solicitor's hands. Now, it landed in the hands of the guy that was replacing our solicitor for the time being. And he said, oh, the contract pack's here. Lovely, amazing. That was on Friday. And then our actual solicitor came back on the Monday. And we called him on Monday morning and said, I don't know what's happened here, but the contract pack only arrived like Friday last week. And he said, that's not a good sign. That's a bit of a red flag that the seller solicitor is extremely slow. So buckle up. This might be quite a slow process for you guys. And we were like, so annoying. It's so typical to happen to us. Anyways, he obviously thought we were going to be halfway through the process. We hadn't even started. And that is basically what our process was at the start. And when the contract pack did finally arrive to our solicitor, that is when the actual searches could finally start and take place. You can't search anything. It might be different for different places, but in England, you can't start the searches on a house, I think, until the contract pack comes through, because that's got loads of information in that I'll go through, and is the thing that your solicitor needs to actually start the search process for your house. So that was a little bit of a background, a backstory on what happened with us. It was obviously a little bit frustrating and it put us on the back burner a little bit. However, hopefully my story makes you think about your process right now. If you've just had your offer approved and you've been waiting 4 weeks and your solicitor hasn't had the contract pack yet, ask them to chase. And if they haven't, or if they're away or anything, call the estate agents and chase them, because realistically, the contract packs shouldn't take longer than 2 weeks to get to you. Anything longer than that, start chasing. I was on BBC Radio 4. Oh gosh, it was probably about 4 months ago now. And there was a solicitor on there. I think there was a solicitor. And they said, yeah, no, it should get there within like 2 to 3 weeks. So at least it's obviously should be quicker than that. But that's like the latest it should get to you by. So for us, 5 weeks was just ridiculous. And please don't let it happen to you. You should be getting it sooner. So chase early and don't be afraid to chase early. So let's get straight into what a contract pack actually is, because I've spoken about it a few times, spoken about our experience, but haven't actually explained what it is. So a contract pack is basically a large piece of documentation, legal documentation, something that your seller's solicitor will hand to your solicitor. It basically forms the foundations of the legal side of the sale. So without it, again, your solicitor won't be able to do any conveyancing because it hasn't got anything to go by. No searches, no checks, no nothing, standstill. You need this contract pack. Your solicitor needs this contract pack. So this is basically put together by the seller's solicitor's legal team, and it includes things from the sellers themselves. So the delay could be with them as well, but it basically has key details about the property that you're buying, and it's all in one place. It's something that the solicitor really needs early on to start any of the searches. It's basically the first proper step that happens on like the legal side of things from when you buy your first house or buy a house in general. It kickstarts the process basically. So a few main things that's actually included in the contract pack. There will be a draft contract of sale. This is the official legal agreement outlining the terms of the sale, the general terms of the sale. You have the title deeds. So it basically shows like who legally owns the property that you're buying. The property information, I think it's called a TA6. So this will be things like utility information, boundaries, neighbour disputes, which I found quite interesting, flooding history and insurance and things like that. Also included in the contract pack is the fixtures and fittings form. I think it's called a TA10, something like that. And it's basically like a very long document that the sellers will fill out. It's basically saying exactly what they're leaving for you in the house. So if they're leaving like curtains or blinds or a little fridge in the garage. So it's basically this big form telling you exactly what they're going to be giving you. We were very lucky that the sellers left us loads of blinds and curtains and stuff, because the last thing you want is when you move into your new house that you have no blinds, no curtains, you don't know the measurements, things like that. What you can do is go and view the property again, and for like a second, third, or whatever viewing, and get the measurements of the blinds and stuff then after you have this form through, because you'll know if they're leaving you curtains or if they're leaving you blinds, and you'll know if you'll need to get them on day one, because you don't want the neighbours looking through the house window with no curtains and no blinds. Like, you don't want it. So another thing that would be included, which I don't know anything about because ours is a freehold, but a leasehold information document. So that will have information about like the service charges and things like that. But obviously we didn't have that, so I don't know any more about that. It will also include planning permissions or buildings regulations documents. So if there's been any work done on the house in the past that's needed planning permission, all of that information would be in there as well. For example, our sellers changed the bedroom upstairs into an ensuite into the bedroom, so they had planning permission stuff for that, and also an EPC certificate. So this is your energy performance certificate, so this will show how efficient the home is to actually run. So that's everything that's kind of in the contract pack, and like I said, your solicitor can't really do anything until they have this, so definitely chase early if they still haven't had it. So here's what your solicitor actually does with the contract pack. They'll basically review it and make sure there's no kind of legal issues and things like that. They'll also check for missing documents in the pack as well. And they'll also send you a copy of everything in the contract pack too, so you can take a look at it. And again, it's really good to know what the sellers are leaving you, and then you know if you go for a viewing, you can then check for measurements for things like that. And then your solicitor can start raising inquiries. That is a whole another episode, and a lot of, confusion comes with inquiries and what it actually is. But for us, it did anyways. But example inquiries can be, can we see the full planning permission for that extension? Or when was the boiler last serviced? And until the answers are satisfactory with you and also your solicitor, that's only when everything can be finalised and then the sale can actually go through. There's so many things that can stop the sale of a property before you've moved in. It's actually crazy. So a few little red flags to look out for when it comes to the contract pack. Like I spoke about previously, missing documents. Realistically, solicitors shouldn't be missing documents. So if they are, weird. But your solicitor will pick up on that. So hopefully that's not the case. Unregistered property. So some older homes might not actually be registered. And that is something to do with the land registry. Now, if that is the case, there could be a lot more issues down the line. Obviously, land registry equals delays, in my opinion, and what we've kind of dealt with them in terms of when the new build stuff. There was a lot of land registry stuff with that. And yeah, anything that I've heard about them is just slightly annoying. So hopefully that isn't the case, because it can take quite a while to get things like through land registry and stuff. There could be a lack of detail in the TA6, which is the document with information such as boundaries and like flood risk and things like that. If there's loads of questions that's been like skipped or like they're vague, it's a little bit of an amber flag, I would say. I would maybe bring that up with your solicitor, and your solicitor will be giving you kind of feedback as and when as well throughout this whole process. And also with the EPCs, if it's older than 10 years, then you're going to want to ask for something a bit more updated, because 10 years is a long time to know how efficient your home is that you're buying. So after your solicitor has had the contract pack, ask your solicitor if they can give a summary of the contract pack, if there's anything that is missing or anything that you need to do. And then if you have questions regarding anything within that contract pack, you can then give that to your solicitor, who would then send it on to the seller solicitor. So for example, if there is a question that you don't understand that the sellers have answered, you can ask them to elaborate more on that and have things ticked off and you're happy with them, basically. And throughout this whole process, guys, do not be afraid of chasing weekly. Like, chase as much as you feel like you want to. Don't feel like you're being annoying, because at the end of the day, you're the one that's moving into this house and you're the one that's buying this house. So it's okay to chase more often than not if you actually want this process to be quick. So obviously, ways that you can make the process quicker is obviously getting your mortgage in principle and mortgage approved as soon as possible. So once your offer's been accepted, get your mortgage advisor to start putting the application through for your mortgage. You should have a mortgage in principle before you start viewing houses. So hopefully you've already had that. But definitely the second you get your mortgage approved, start the process by speaking to a mortgage advisor and then the mortgage application. That shouldn't take that long. I think ours altogether took like a week. And that was ticked off, all signed off, ready to go. Staying on top of communication is so important. Obviously, for us, we waited 4.5 weeks to speak to the other side, the estate agents, and who then spoke to the seller solicitor. So don't be afraid to have that open line of communication earlier on in the process, just to kind of keep up to date with what's going on and letting the estate agents know what's going on from your side as well, because they want the sale to go through too. Otherwise, they're not going to get their commission. So, and then another thing you can do to help speed things up is get a home buyer survey early on. So we did this probably within the first 4 weeks of having our mortgage offer approved. We had a level 2 home buyer survey, which I've gone into more detail, I think, in my second episode, and what that is type thing. You don't have to have a home buyer survey, but it's very highly recommended. And then you can send those results to your solicitor, who might have like some follow-up questions that he can go back to the seller solicitor, that sort of thing. It's very, very important, and you don't want to be stung with something that could have easily been picked up with a home buyer survey. So there you have it. That is kind of a quick and easy little run through of the contract pack, what it is, what it means, things that it includes. And yeah, hopefully I've explained that in good enough detail, because we didn't even have a clue what a contract pack was, or a seller's pack, or a starter pack, which was what they're called as well, until we actually started the house buying process. So hopefully you're kind of one step ahead of the game, definitely one step ahead of us, and you have a bit more information to go by and kind of know what to expect and like what to do at the very start of your house buying journey. So please do let me know in the comments if you found this useful, because I would really love to know that I've helped just one person, even if it's understanding like a small little snippet of this house buying journey and the house buying process. It means the world to me. So please do let me know, and hopefully I will see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you then.